Hello, this is Brian Foster on Kardec Radio, presenting the program Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us. Hello, this is Brian Foster. As I said in my intro, today is April 15th, 2018, and we have another program as we do every Sunday afternoon or night, depending on what time zone you are in. We are 7 o'clock Eastern and 4 o'clock Pacific, all time zones in between, and around the world. We have listeners from all over to our program. And of course, this program is all about different aspects of Spiritism. And Spiritism all comes from Allan Kardec, the codifier of Spiritism. Remember, that's where in the 1850s, by talking to many mediums throughout the continent of Europe, he codified a set of 1,019 questions. He asked questions. Unless he came up with similar answers from different mediums in different locations, he did not write them down. And this all came from the Spirit of Truth, who was led. It was promised by Jesus in the New Testament. And it has told us so much. And it's just keep giving us more and more information, starting with Allan Kardec, of course, the codifier of Spiritism. He's written 5 major books, and then you had other Spiritist authors as time went on telling us more and more. And tonight we are talking about what was told to us by the Reverend G. Val Owen. And what I have done, I've taken his books and I've categorized it. And tonight we're talking about the spirit attributes. And this is the book, Spirits in the Spirit Universe, Book 2 of Spiritism, The Spirit World Revealed to an Anglican Vicar. You can find that on the website. You can look at my website, nwspiritism.com, and you'll see on the right-hand side, you'll see a list of all my books. And of course, if you want to buy any of the other Spiritist books, you can click on the picture of Allan Kardec. It will take you to the EDI CEI bookstore. You'll see all the books that are available in English, at least most of them. And you'll find the Spirits book. You find books by Chico Xavier, Yvonne Pierre, and others. You can also find Allan Kardec's books on PDF. You just have to put Allan Kardec and then PDF, and you can find his books on PDF. So you don't have to spend anything. So again, we are talking about Spiritism, and I'm talking about one facet of Spiritism. There's so much to explore. There's so much to learn. It's also interesting because we're actually learning about a whole nother universe. A universe that's all around us and part of us, and the thoughts come through us and we live in it, but most of us have no clue. So tonight we're talking about the spirit world and the attributes of spirits. And I'm going to start with, why is it difficult for spirits to remember names and dates? Now, I'm sure if someone's been to a medium or someone's seen movies about mediums and they talk to spirits, they figure spirits should know everything, right? And mediums who've encountered spirits are often frustrated when they communicate with spirits who seem to be the person they wish to speak with, but the spirit can't come up with an exact name or date of an episode that the medium wishes them to recall, or the person, the incarnate with the medium wishes them to recall. And of course, we expect exact, perfect, a photographic recollection from any spirit that comes within our sphere of communication. But how would you feel if you were asked to recount what you did on a certain day in kindergarten class? Can you remember your classmates, what you were wearing, what type of day it was, or anything? So remember, the main tenet of Spiritism tells us that when we pass over from this physical life to the spirit life, we are who we were. We don't change, right? We're more connected. We are more connected to data, depending on the level we are. And while higher spirits are able to tap into memories and data from any slice of time in their lives, lower spirits have limited resources. And the Reverend G. Val Owen quizzed the Spirit Arnell as to why is it hard for discarnates to pin down exact dates, times, and names. And this is what the Spirit Arnell answered G. Val Owen. So very interesting. Now, this is what he said. Now, as to earth names, these are remembered for a time after transition by death. But new names are given here and are used in constant to the exclusion of earth names. This has the effect of the earth name fading, becoming dim, and at last almost or quite vanishing from the memory. Not so much while relatives are still on earth, but after such a time as they be all come over. Then, as generations go by, the line becomes intermixed with other blood, and the connection is thinned in ratio, and at last is lost altogether. Exceptions there are, but few. Then also, in the course of times, names become changed, both in spelling and pronunciation. They become different names, but most of all, they fade from memory as interest in the earth period becomes of less account by its removal from the more immediate proximity of the present estate of a progressed spirit. And among the infinite variety of experience here, it is forgotten. It can always be had by research of the records, but that is rarely worthwhile. So imagine it. So when we think we're talking to a spirit, remember that spirit in their last life, we may have known that spirit as, whatever name we knew, but remember that there are multiple lives. That spirit has gone through who knows how many thousands of lives, and they've had different names throughout their lives, and they've known different people, and they may have known the same spirit under different names. As maybe it's your wife now that had different names in previous lives, even with you when you had a different name in previous life. So these things are not simple. And so the ease of querying the database in universal cloud varies by the level of the spirit. So while on a lower sphere of heaven, a spirit may have access to his or her past by a separate device or by a formal request for that particular memory. A higher spirit may possess the tools to retrieve the information on demand by merely thinking. That's part of the spirit attributes. So imagine the capability to command all memories for a certain date, time, and place, plus the memories of the people with you or another person, to perfectly reconstruct events for a particular episode. This is the power of a high spirit, and one that has been demonstrated to many people who have had near-death experiences. Their life review wasn't painstakingly filmed and edited beforehand in anticipation of their journey to the other side. A high spirit or a group of mentors, after notification of a person coming temporarily to the spirit dimension, summon up the replay on the spot, although the group may have determined the episodes to review in advance of the soul coming for a short visit. So now, Arnell answers questions about the dates. Again, this is interesting. This is something we've never thought of before. This is the beauty. This is the greatness of all this information coming to us via spiritist mediums. We are being told so much, and of course, and I'm sure it's just a small amount. But so this is what Arnell, the spirit Arnell, answers the questions about dates. And also remember that there's no time in the spirit world. This is what he says. The difficulty of remembering earth periods is a similar one and as needless to our present concerns as to our future course, in which chiefly our interest lies. There's also the fact that the continuous receding of our earth period and the intervention of event after event in so long a line of links that it is difficult on the moment to pick out that particular link at the farther end and label it with earth, time, and day. It is easy for one of you to spring the query on one of us who is bent on giving you some message and whose will is all taut and strenuous and focused on that message he wishes to give. It is not easy for us who have other work on hand and who live in the present so much to make a sudden about ship and sail for one little section in our wake where a particular wave had lapped our bow and which had long ago flattened out upon the bosom of the ocean, the while the ship still sped on her way, breasting swell after swell of the ocean. Count each swell a century, and you'll get some idea of my meaning. So, look at this. Understand this from Arnell's message. One, and the most important, is the absence of continually thinking back. While we on earth look behind us to count the mistakes we made, the injustices we suffered, the opportunities we lost, a knowing spirit understands that the past is unimportant. It is what they are learning now that is vital. A higher spirit stays in the moment to analyze their course of action to what has been presented to them. They don't waste their mental energy in regret. They only think back to review experiences for lessons learned. The second point is the accumulation of life events over the course of hundreds, if not thousands of lives. It must be immense. This is a fact of immortality. We retain our character, modifying it after each life on earth, hopefully for the better. But the endless string of interactions, great deeds and lesser deeds, eventually recede from our immediate memory bank. The wonderful aspect of Jivao's communications with spirits in the early years of the 20th century isn't just the wise words that are spoken by spirits, but the meaning and glimpse of what life must be like in the spirit realm. Just a discussion of the ability to recall names and dates present us with a feeling of what immortality and the relative levels of spirits actually mean in practice. Remember, the reward of working and studying hard to ascend in the spirit world becomes all the more apparent the more we learn. Now, let's talk about that as you rise up and you go higher and higher in the levels of the spirit hierarchy. Now, there's another part of spirit attributes. Think about the spirit world is organized. It has a governing and command process, just like we do on Earth. The largest difference is that people in charge are appointed for their piety, there's Mara, love, kindness, competence, and selfishness. Selflessness, I should say, not selfishness. That was completely wrong. So these people who are increased in levels do so because they merit it, right? It's a meritocracy. But assignments of increased responsibility aren't just accomplished with an order, as in the spirit realm. Something else is given. This is what Arnell tells us. Now, when such appointment is made on earth, authority is also given to the one appointed to exercise his office in the name of the state. But here there is added to the initiate a capacity of power to carry out the work of his own inherent ability. He is changed in personal capacity. The circumference of forces at his command is enlarged. In brief, he has become greater, not alone in executive authority, but also in forcefulness of spirit. So this is extremely interesting. This is something we should know. This directly relates to all the spirits. This relates to why Christ is so powerful. He can do so much. And when he came to earth, even as in the human form, he was just overwhelmingly had talents and attributes. And with the spirit Arnell he pulled back the cover of how the spirit world operates. He told the Reverend Jivaoan that men and women are not just appointed, but enhanced, similar to what happens when a spirit ascends from one level to the next, where they are physically transformed with less density and more attributes. Officials aren't assigned to their post without added capabilities. And while they may be appointed assistants and other staff to enable them to carry out their duties, they are given something else besides. Their minds and bodies are supercharged with greater reserves of energy and most probably heightened connectivity to other resources which stand by awaiting a call. Now, think of that. So think of that as when we graduate, if we graduated from college, not only if we didn't just get a piece of paper with a degree on it, but we also had more intelligence. We were able to, in our mind, call up whatever data we wanted to. That is the extent. In the spirit world, remember, it's a logical construct. We are can be enhanced. Oh, hello, Rosalind. Thank you, Rosalind. So, and then we've seen examples of this, not just from the Reverend Jivaoan, but also from the books by Chico Xavier, Francisco C. Xavier, in one of the books, psychographed by Chico Xavier, but it was by the spirit Andre Luis. And there is a prime example of a spirit realm government official who seems to have an expanded ability of service and work. And that was in the first book in the series, which is a great series. I think everybody should see that. There's also a movie called No Solar that you should rent. I think it's only $3.99. Look it up. NOSSO-LAR. In fact, I'll write it down here because I want people to see that. And that's NOSO. Solar. Oops. So I spell it right. It means our home in Portuguese. No solar. So look for that movie. It's in Portuguese, but the music is wonderful, and it's subtitled in English, but it's well worth it. You cannot go wrong by looking at that movie, and then start reading the whole series of books. I have read them a couple times. So in the books No Solar, a friend of Andre Luis the Spirit, took him on a tour of the city and pointed out where the governor lived. And this is what his friend told him about the governor. Our devoted governor lives there, and a staff of 3,000 employees assist him in his administrative duties. However, he is the most faithful and untiring worker of all. The ministers ordinarily travel to other spheres in order to renew their energies and acquire new knowledge. And we too have our habitual sideline activities, but the governor has no leisure time on his hand. While he insists that we must rest, that we must take periodic vacations, he himself almost never rests, sacrificing even his sleeping hours. It seems like it's his glory to render round-the-clock service. I have been here for 40 years, and except for collective prayer services, I have rarely seen him at any public function. His thought, however, reaches every circle of service, and his kind assistance involves everybody and everything. So, No Solar is published in 1944. The communication from the Spirit Arnel was in 1919, 25 years after we were told that high officials are granted extraordinary powers and endurance. The information derived from Spiritist mediums via advanced souls from the other side is consistent and complementary. Spiritism, since its beginnings in the 1850s, as codified by Allan Kardec, has continually added to our pool of knowledge. Each message and book published serves to clarify what is waiting for us when we return home. The spirit world, now this is important, the spirit world is our true home. We were created there, we were launched into numerous lives from there, and in the future we shall remain for the vast majority of our immortal lives. Each bright spark of information that lands at our feet serves to enlighten us and make known to all of humanity what it is to come for them after physical death. Abolishing the fear of death is the pronounced liberation, for it should remove our preoccupation from attaining the temporary luxuries on earth and focus our attention on learning our lessons assigned to us so that we may ascend into the heavenly spheres. So, in this ascending to the heavenly spheres, let's talk about our next subject. And this is extremely interesting because we have been told in Allan Kardec about, we are immortal souls. We come to earth. We incarnate multiple times. And the reason that we come back to earth each time is to remove our blemishes, right? And they use that many times in the books by Chico Xavier, and actually, different spirits that talk to him, is that, we are here, we go through suffering, and they call it, it's the same as chiseling that statue. They have to remove the marble to show the beauty within us. They also talk about that, we are like a piece of pottery that goes through the kiln, and we have to burn in, our good values and subtract our bad values, our primitive emotions, hate, envy, those type of things, and replace that with love and kindness. And this makes sense to us. But, and we think of ourselves, we think of ourselves in the spirit world, and we think of ourselves still looking like us, as we imagine ourselves to be, because usually when you're in the spirit world, you look like how you want to be. If you're older, you look younger. If you passed away younger, you'll end up, looking either from like in the 20s, 30s, or 40s, depending on how people want to appear. And that's what we think we will be. But there's more to that even afterwards. And a group of spirits from the 10th level of heaven told us an important fact concerning our ultimate destiny. And this is what it said. Now, this group of spirits was led by a person, they just called him the leader, but they used a spirit, Kathleen, as the communicator from a group of spirits, And that person, because she was alive on the earth around the same time, or at least close to the Reverend Jiva Owen, they used her as a communicator so that she could interpret the group of spirits information and then focus that into Jiva Owen's mind. And this is actually how you'll see how we're told that the works of Andre Louis done. It wasn't Andre Louis sitting there talking to the mind of Chico Xavier. It was a group of spirits and focusing and making sure everything was sent to him. So there's a lot of work in the spirit. No one can believe how much work is put on us and how much we ignore everything. It's a bit amazing and sorrowful at the same time. So this is what this group of spirits said. There are reaches that are far surpassing any imagining of ours or of your own, and these will be made clear to us as we in the ages which are ahead put on state after state of more perfection. So far as we are able to project our minds into that far immensity of life, and being we cannot see any end to our onward going, for as a river viewed from the mountain in which it takes its beginning, so is life eternal. So think of that, because think of what immortality means. Is that it's in the spirit world, immortality, as opposed to our usual thinking of heaven, is we go to heaven and we just rest, right? Of course, that would, as they said, Allan Kardec's book, that would be a hell. It's always something intellectually, and you get more and more. And see, yes, yeah, absolutely. Donna Verducci just said that if you think Earth is overcrowded, you should see it in the spirit world. This is her spiritist teacher said that in 1971, and that's what's told us by Allan Kardec. Is there is no such thing as a vacuum. When we look at space, we think, oh, there's nothing there. No, there's something everywhere that's told to us. And I think we're actually in a very dense location. But I'll get on to that later. I don't want to get off track too much here. So remember, the group of spirits are from the 10th level. This is the group of spirits who are talking through Kathleen. And it's considered a very high sphere to us, right? To us, that will take, for me, it would take eons, right, to get there. And that's where, of course, where life and buildings can be structured by the power of thought from these advanced spirits. And even as they, who are so wise and beyond us, marvel at the road ahead, a highway which appears to reach into infinity. Now, our life is one of eternal learning. One of our vital characteristics we should emphasize is our enjoyment of discovery. For this attribute will propel us into realms and kingdoms which are way beyond any of our fantasies. Humans have always been explorers, whether a new continent, headwaters of a river, or an asteroid, or a planet. Our desire to travel where we have not yet gone is part of our makeup. Without it, we wouldn't be considered material to have graduated into spirits with free will. So, Jiva Owen and other spiritist mediums have sent us information from the spirit world. Focus on the spheres around, on, and under our physical planet. And so this is what we mainly get, right? We mainly get through these things is something that's particular, and we can start grasping us just around the earth. But this particular message to the Reverend Jiva Owen exposes the immensity of the spirit universe, or universes, which lay beyond, and dimensions. And remember, there are other planets, even in our solar system, we cannot see, that exist in other dimensions. And I remember when I first read the Spirits book, and they talked about like life on Jupiter or Saturn, and I thought, oh, this book can't be true, right? Because there's no life there. And as the more I understood Spiritism, is yes, there could be, but it's in the different dimensions that we don't see. And even in the books by Andre Louis, you'll see that they tell us we see only 1/8 of what's around us. So we are in these. So remember, we are in these dense bodies, and we are like the horse with the blinders. We just look ahead. They don't want us diverted. Anything else? The reason we're here on Earth is to improve our character. Anything else? Not that important. So let me get back to the topic. So they expanded on what lies ahead. And this is what they said. The stream broadens, and into its volume absorbs more take this off, absorbs more and more those other streams which come from lands diverse in character as in soil. So is the life of a man, as he too gathers into his personality many side currents of diverse quality, and in himself, blending them in unity, makes these one and with himself. Let me just stop there for a second. And just another thing you'll see in many spiritist mediums that you'll from spirits, they'll talk about personality, and that's really what we are. To us, in English or other languages, personality is like, you're bubbly or your type of personality. They use it as the all being of, because remember, all spirits are created equal. Now, here on earth, we say, all men are created equal. And that's true as far as hopefully as aspiration and legality. But are you as equal to, could I run as fast as an Olympic runner? No. Can I ever be, no matter how much I study, as smart as, a genius scientist, Einstein or something like that? No, I'm not equal. But in the spirit world, everyone has the same capacity. It's what you want to focus on. It's how you decide yourself. Since you are a logical being, you can create, you are equal. But as you improve, and you change your character, you change your personality. And as you go up in heaven, you also get these extra attributes. That's what we're talking about, is that it's like you are a, let's say, like a mini smartphone. And as you go up, you get more and more applications. You get more capability. You get more memory. You get more power. That is what it all means. So when they say, so is the life of man, as he too gathers into his personality many side currents of diverse quality, and in himself blending them in unity, makes these one in and with himself. So of course, there's a law of affinity too, right? As that spirit goes into they are affected by other spirits, by other thoughts, right? Because every thought comes through. But they also have these other capabilities and tool sets within themselves. And he goes on then. As the river is seen still to broaden until it passes out of itself and ceases to be distinctive as a separate entity, so man, as he himself broadens out beyond his initial state, passes into that great ocean of light where we cannot follow him in his further progress from our viewpoint on the mountain of his birth. But this we have learned, and there are few there who doubt it, that as water of the ocean does not change the substance of the river from the water into that which is other than water, but when he emerges, but only enriches and modifies its quality, so man will still be man when he emerges from between the banks of individuality on the one hand and of personality on the other, and blends the richness of the accumulated qualities with the infinitude of that which is the beginning and the consummation, the outgoing and the incoming forces of the whole cycles of being. So what they tell us is so much of what I just read. It's hard. So first, we find we are a fluid creature. We are not a spirit hatched to a particular form. We are a possibility. Each of us is a possibility. Just like your child is somewhat of a possibility. Now, we're more in the subjective world where, there are certain features that, each child has, attributes that they can either grow or not, but there's some things they can't do. But in the spirit world, we are a possibility. We are a scaffold upon which to hang and place tools, capabilities, assets, attributes, and connections. After each graduation from one level to the next, more is added, more is altered, but above all, we still are ourselves. Our personality is intact. We are still individuals, but we start absorbing all this extra information and attributes. And second, while we retain our temperament and disposition, we become more. We plug into the wider spirit environment. We contribute to the whole while simultaneously maintaining our unique contribution, thereby increasing the power and scope of all. Now think of that. Think of the genius of what God made. If God wanted us all to be perfect, we would be like the worker ants, right? We'd all be the same. We'd all be exactly what it was, and there'd be no differences, right? We'd all think the same. We do our order, right? We'd be perfect because that's the way we were made. But would anything change? The ant colonies evolve? No, they are always what they are. But what God did in his creation, created us. So, and he created a process whereby we become perfect, and we live to serve. We are loving and kind. And as we get more loving and kind and intelligent and use our wisdom, we increase in power and power and power. Enormous power, right? In the books On the Way to the Light by Emmanuel, everyone, Christ and the high level spirits created this whole solar system. They put the earth where it is. They led the evolution of the planet and, of course, ourselves. This is the power they have. And yet, so God's created this system. We were going to have this immense power, and yet still be nice and kind people, use that power correctly. And this is the important part, retain our own little unique personalities, and thereby adding to the whole, not just adding a geography or space to the whole, like one more of the same, but adding to the whole of making it stronger and better and a little bit different viewpoint. That is really the most important thing that I can be saying tonight. So many people, religions and others, have ideas of what occurs after our death, and they range from life in a constant paradise to complete absorption into a supreme intelligence. And all may be partially true, since we travel up a path in which we experience many transformations which may make us unrecognizable if we saw ourselves a billion years in the future. But the spirits hint at our future, and when they tell Jiva Owen, also in the river, fishes and water animals have their habitation, but wider and deeper realms of oceans make room for things of life of grander bulk and power than these. So those who in unity disport their immensity in person and in power must be of magnitude and glory beyond our kin. So what did Arnell tell? Is that who knows for certain what is meant by magnitude of glory beyond our kin, except that as we rise, we become more and more awesome in our majesty, our love, and our wisdom. This is a future worth fighting and sacrificing for here on earth, a place that is but a small step toward the light. And lastly, the spirits tell Jiva Owen that those so far above us are not unaware of our travails. Their love constantly bathes us, giving us incentives to stay on an upward path. This is what they told him. We therefore glance ahead towards those far brothers of our own and know that they are not unmindful of us, who, if we be much removed from their abode, yet have our faces set towards their quarters. It is from the ultimate, through such as these, that life comes forth and bathes in the love these lesser worlds of us and you. It is enough. We take our sip of the chalice and of our destiny and go forward much refreshed and strengthened for what duty lies to hand. So this is an immense, what I believe is an immense revelation. And this is why I think it's so important for people to really look at the books from Jiva Owen. And it's because it tells us, it complements so much of what we are told by the books by Chico Xavier, which is like almost 500 books. Valdo Franco, Yvonne Piera, and other spiritist authors, is that I've never read anything in these other books. It doesn't mean they're not out there, because so many books in Portuguese I haven't read yet, that really talk about the higher levels of heaven. And in the books by Jiva Owen, there is a lot of information, more information about the higher levels of information of the heavens, not just around the earth, because each planet has its own spheres. You could logically think, you could envision them as encapsulated spheres, higher and higher. is a good way to think of them. Although they're mostly probably all within the dense information, depending on how you slice and dice the data. But it tells us so much. And what we have to know is that we are not just who we are. We're not static humans. We're not static spirits. We are dynamic. We change over time, not just our personality, but everything. Spirit attributes are not fixed. Spirits are not born with a certain set of intelligence, coordination, appearance, or personality. There is no set of DNA mandating the limitations of a spirit. Instead, spirits start out as primitive beings, artificial logical constructs created, who knows how, because they tell us that, in the Spirits book, they say, we don't know, we're not going to tell you. And in the books by Jiva Owen and Chico Xavier, they kind of give hints more of, you start off, pretty primitive, and meaning almost like it could be a rock. I'm sure people have different ideas on this, but there's hints that you start out very primitive, and how they decide that little piece of logic has the capability to become a spirit like us that will go through this type of training. I have no idea, but somehow it happens. And as spirits with that gift to be allowed to have free will, because other things aren't allowed to have free will. They're allowed, the animals have instincts. Only we are allowed to have free will. And we are allowed to accumulate capabilities and form our character through experiences and dedication and guidance by superior spirits. The ultimate set of intelligence, wisdom, spirituality, energy, and willpower is entirely up to each individual soul. The environment of heaven is dynamic and ever-changing in response to intellectual power. Hence, a normal static creature could not survive long in a realm where buildings and trees respond to faith and emotion, where the sky could be different colors, and where everything seemingly pulsates with life and reacts immediately to the thought stimuli. A human who was transported to heaven with their handicaps intact would be partially blind and unable to move at any speed comparable to the creatures around him or her, and could only communicate with others very slowly in rudimentary sentences, like I am talking now, right? Because in the spirit world, as you go higher, now, and they talk about no solar, people talk to each other, but the higher spirits, it's all done by thought transmission. So hence, the knowledge imparted to us by our benefactors in the spirit realm is meant to prepare us for life after physical death. It is meant to convey that our quest for new horizons, new challenges, and new experiences will never be exhausted, and that each new journey will bring with it a full kit. Everything we require to survive and succeed will be part of us. The most important ingredient we bring is our intellectual curiosity and determination. Therefore, whatever body you may now possess, whatever age you are, whatever restrictions are now part of your life, any illnesses, anything, disabilities, they are all temporary. They will all disappear the moment you cast off your dense covering and are free in the spirit world. You will regenerate your body to appear as you believe it should appear. You will clothe yourself in what you desire. You will travel at the speed of thought. You will see beyond the horizon. You will be connected with an infinite universe, and you will always be at the start of another journey, another challenge. So this is why Spiritism is so important to us. Because while in the earth life, we should start preparing ourselves mentally for that now. Everything that happens to us is meant for a purpose. Well, almost everything. Some spiritists say everything. There's no such as happenstance. I'm not sure about that. I think sometimes there's things that happen that could be completely random, but other people don't. But you should just consider that the vast majority of what you go through is all for purpose. That person that yelled at you for some unknown reason and made you sad was there for a purpose. Think about what that purpose was. And then forgive that person, because that person was just an actor on the stage. You're an actor on the stage, and people are interacting with you with a prepared script. in order to change your character and move your character along in the story. And the more you can look at yourself as a character in a story, intersecting with others and moving that character along to a culmination, the less stress you have. And all you have to do is, like a good actor, is know your lines and try the best that you can. And here on earth, all we have to do is follow our conscience, right? Follow our conscience and do the best we can and be the best we can and be intellectually curious and keep going, but always try to be nice and kind to everybody. So I hope that is interesting for people tonight. I know there's a lot of people out there that are interested in this, and I cannot tell you enough that get into Spiritism. Share this video. Share the other videos on Kardec Radio. And let me tell people this too, is you can get on Facebook, Kardec Radio. Let me write that down. So I want people to see it. And you can say KARD. And you can look at this in many different ways. Is look for it on Facebook. You can download it on your iPhone or Android phone. And just look up what I put down there, Kardec Radio. You can listen to Kardec Radio 24 hours a day. You can also find it. It's a web page where you can bring up other people who talk much better than I, more knowledge about Spiritism. You can listen to their programs on demand if you go to their web page. And so there's many different ways of getting information in Spiritism. There's a whole group of people that have done one, Vanessa's one of them. And there's just so many people that are trying to bring Spiritism in English to the whole English speaking world. And that's, we're behind other places. Brazil, of course, I think there's more than 5% of the people are Spiritists. We need to share these type of programs, share Facebook postings. You can go to Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us, my Facebook page, my blog, nwspiritism.com. Share those links. Talk to people. I mean, you shouldn't, we know as Spiritists, we don't go and we just, we stand on the street corner and talk to people. We just have information ready when we think people are asking for it, right? And so this is the wonderful thing you can do to help people, reduce their stress and live a much nicer life with inner peace. Anyway, I want to thank you for tonight. I think that it's wonderful having people on, interacting. I just can't thank everyone enough for everyone to be part of our program tonight. And I will end it here. Here we go. I would like to thank everyone for listening to our program on Kardec Radio, and to point you in a direction to find more information about the spirit world around us. You can visit my blog at www.nwspiritism.com. Again, that is www.nw, as in Northwest, spiritism.com. And if you are ever in the Northwest, I certainly would welcome to have you come to our meeting on Bainbridge Island near Seattle in the state of Washington. Many blessings to all of you, and please continue to explore Spiritism and the spirit world around us.